Okay, we basically brought you through in the first section a number of scriptures which we would have highlighted some of the reasons from the biblical perspective why one should be seriously concerned about the events of the end time. Um, a number of persons, having read these scriptures, would, with serious consideration of end time events, um, see the need to be fearful, especially if they do not have a plan, if they know nothing about what is coming upon them, and if all they know is what they have at this current state and nothing beyond, there is reason to be fearful. But let me assure you that there is a way out. So take courage. And if I use the words that are mentioned very often in the Bible, be ye not afraid. Be you not afraid. So the assurance is there is a plan of salvation. There is a plan of salvation for you, for your life. There has been provisions made for you, so don't be afraid. Alright? Now, what I'll be carrying you through for the rest of this presentation is outlined below. As it relates to salvation, the plan of salvation for your life, I'll be touching on why it was necessary to first have a plan, why or what gave the necessity for a plan of salvation, how it was provided, how one can receive it, and after one has received it, how can they ensure that they hold on to it until the time it is needed. Before this, I'll just quickly go through a slide that highlights some of the concerns that persons might have at this current point in time that might have triggered their interest in such a topic as this. That is, how do you go about getting saved from the impending dangers that await us? So let us move on without further ado. The concerns of persons might lead us to be fearful. When we have concerns and there are no definite answers, when there are questions but one don't get the feeling that he knows the truth about what should happen, then there is fear. So let me just say, or ask these couple of questions. Are you curious about what is beyond the horizon for our planet Earth? Do you know for a certainty that something is going to happen, but not quite sure when, to what end, or even to what extent? Do you feel there is something you must do to prepare for impending dangers on this planet that we live, but you are somewhat uncertain as to how to prepare? Have you seen signs in the skies? Have you seen stars with trajectories that may cause catastrophic consequences on our planet Earth? Have you heard numerous prophecies that suggest that the time is at hand and that it's very soon? Do you get a sense that all of these prophecies are pretty much saying the same thing, are culminating in the same sort of event, just around the same point in time, which, as we know, is not very far away? Well, if these and any other similar concerns have arisen as it pertains to you. I can assure you that you have come to the right place. You are searching for answers. Here lies the solution. Here lies the escape. Here lies the plan of salvation. It might seem a bit mysterious to you at first, but especially if you are not a Christian. But bear with me as I take you through and show you from a scriptural perspective how it is that you prepare yourself. How is it that you take advantage of the preparations that have been made? You will kind of see that everything that is to come is to happen in a context. So the fact that the world might end or will end is not independent of itself. The world is ending because of a certain condition. The world is coming to an end because there are certain things that have been established in our lives that ought not to be, and it is as a consequence of those circumstances. The earth is being destroyed for a reason. Now, some might call it judgment, which in a sense it is. What you will realize that in that judgment, and in any judgment whatsoever, one, you can either be on the right side or on the wrong side. Now, in God's judgment, as the Bible portrays, those who are on the right side, who are considered righteous, are saved. They are not condemned to death. Those who are on the wrong side, those who are considered sinners, they are condemned to death. And you will see from this discussion that in essence what is being destroyed is sin. When this world comes to an end, it is sin and its consequence that will be destroyed. But if one is sinful, he is destroyed along with sin. If one is righteous, he's protected from the impending dangers. Now let us quickly move through. I will try not to speak too much around a specific point just for the purpose of keeping within the time frame. Time is of the essence. Okay, so firstly we look at why is salvation, why was it necessary? A quick definition shows us that salvation is to be saved, or you could say rescued, from a certain problem or undesirable situation. It's very simple. It is to be saved, which is what you want, right? Now, you might ask the question, to be saved from what? You might be looking at it as an impending danger, a culmination of events that might mean the destruction of this planet. But the Bible puts it in a bigger context. The Bible demonstrates that this salvation is it is salvation from sin and its consequence. Now, the sin problem is described. It is the sin and the consequence of sin why man needs salvation. Right? So, putting it back in context, why do we need salvation? Because there is sin. Because there's a consequence of sin. And because we are sinners and we are held bondage by the consequence of sin, we are likely destined to be destroyed. So let us look at a scripture that reveals unto us what's the nature of the sin problem. Genesis 2 verse 17 says, "But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it." And this is God speaking to Adam in the Garden of Eden. "For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die." Now here we see that God gave a specific command, and he gave a consequence of disobeying that command. We all know the story very well, especially if you're a Christian. Adam and Eve, his wife, did eat of the fruit, and because of that they were cursed with the consequence of death, because they sinned against God. Now this connection that's made between or to establish when someone has sinned is this depicted in 1 John 3 verse 4. That's the next scripture there. "Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is a transgression of the law." So it's just saying that if God gives a law and you transgress that law, it means that you are a sinner. Now, in the first law that God gave to Adam, the consequence was death. So the mere fact that Adam disobeyed God means that he sinned and he was a sinner, and the consequence of sinning against God was death. So man disobeyed the command of God, hence the consequence was death. Let us